Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvartakacharya Ashtotra Tatasya Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Shri Jagannath Baladesh Bhadra Maharani Ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Granth Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Krishna Vistar Burle Japta Vizwanatram Chariputan Thai Pupran Garvitatam Deno Hare Krishna. Let's continue our discussion on the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedic Cosmology. So just to give you a bit of a recap. Last week we were discussing about how Bhu-mandala, which is the 7th planetary system from the top, it was one single tract of land. And then it was divided into 7 islands and oceans, concentric to each other. And that was done by Priyavrata Maharaj. We were discussing how he was son of Swayambhuva Manu and how initially he was taking up to full-time devotional service in the forest, and then he had to be brought back because there was no ruler for Bhu-mandala. Original ruler, or rather before him, it was Swayambhuva Manu, who was his father, who was ruling the entire tract of land called Bhu-mandala. And then Priyavrata then divided it, and he gave it to 7 of his sons. The central island is called Jambudvipa, and the Jambudvipa's rulership, he has given it to his son called Agnidra. Agnidra, he had 9 sons, so he had divided the central piece of island, which is Jambudvipa, into 9 different portions called varshas. And he named each one of them after his sons. And the southernmost varsha of Jambudvipa, that was called Ajanaba Varsha, named after one of his sons by name Nabi. Nabi married Meru Devi, who is one of the daughters of Mount Sumeru. And then through her he begot Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Rishabdev, as his son. Rishabdev had 100 sons, and the eldest one is the famous Bharat Maharaj. We have heard about how Bharat Maharaj, he was ruling for so many years, and then at the end of his, or rather when he took Vanaprastha stage, and then he renounced everything, went to forest, and in the forest he developed attachment to a deer, and then he took birth again as a deer, and then followed by one more birth as Jadabharat, and then after that he actually went back to Godhead. So in 3 births he went back to Godhead. Once as Bharat Maharaj, second time as a deer, and third time as Jadabharat. So that Varsha, which was called Ajanaba until that point, came to be known as Bharata Varsha, named after Maharaj Bharat, or Bharat Maharaj. And after Bharat Maharaj gave up, 9 of his younger brothers, they took up rulership of each one of the different divisions or different islands within Bharata Varsha called Kandas. And the southernmost one is Bharata Kanda. And that's where we live. And we were discussing how our Bharata Kanda, which is one of the 9 divisions and the southernmost division of Bharat Varsha, it is circular in shape, like a bale fruit, like a football, round. So that's where we finished. We were also discussing a bit about the subterranean planets, which means those planets that are below Earth, but within Earth also. We'll go to that either today or next week. So that's just to give you a bit of a recap. I asked the devotees to text me questions. I had a lot of questions. In fact, yesterday I was running around trying to sort out a few things. I received a call. I picked up the call. I was running. Prabhuji, I'm reading 5th canto. Where is sun in relation to Jambudvipa? I told him, Prabhu, please wait. We'll discuss it soon, either tomorrow or next week. So I'll try to cover some of the questions. One common question which I heard last week from many devotees was There is this tract of land, which is Bhu-mandala, which is divided into different dvipas or island. Centralmost one is Jambudvipa. Where are the planets here? Now, before we go to that, we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. Now, this chapter has got, or rather, this canto has got 26 chapters. So, the first 15 chapters, if you read, you would see the description and the activities of different descendants of Priyavrata. We were discussing from Priyavrata, Agnidhara, Rishabdev to Bharat Maharaj, activities of Bharat Maharaj, activities of Priyavrata, activities of the different descendants of Priyavrata. That's what you will see in chapters 1 to 15 of 5th canto. 16 to 20, that's the section we are currently discussing. It discusses about the breadth of universe. Breadth of universe means, okay, so that is the universe. We were discussing how there are 14 planetary systems. In this, we are discussing about the 7th planetary system, which is Bhu-mandala. Chapters 16 to 20 discuss in detail about the tract of this land called Bhu-mandala. In other words, this is the breadth, if you know what I mean. Okay, so it discusses about the 7th planetary system alone. So we haven't discussed yet about, where is Mercury, where is Dhruvaloka, where is Satyaloka and everything. Because chapter 16 to 20, it discusses about only the breadth, which means just Bhu-mandala alone, just that one plane, it discusses. So that's why we haven't touched the others yet. 21 to 26, it discusses about the height of universe. Again, height means in the context, if that's the universe, 16 to 20 talks about only one plane, which is Bhu-mandala. In that, different tracts of islands, different sections, dvipas, varshas, khandas, so on and so forth. Now, 21 to 26 talks about the height. Height means this is the 7th planetary system. In relation to that, okay, there is Sumeru, then there is sun, there is moon, and there is Dhruvaloka, so on and so forth. It just goes like that. Okay, so that's the height. So this discussion will come to hopefully in the next class. Definitely we'll get it started. So we'll be discussing about the movement of sun, we'll discuss about the movements of different planets, so on and so forth. So that's about the height. In fact, that's how even chapter 21 to 26 is laid out. In fact, the 26th chapter, that's how, after describing about the upper 6 planetary system, discussion goes to the subterranean planets, and then 5th canto finishes with the hellish planets description. And after hearing the gory description of the different punishments that's been meted out to different culprits who end up going there, people with all abominable activities, karmic reactions, due to which they are pushed there. After hearing all the description only, Parishit Maharaj puts forth this question. Somebody who is in such an abominable condition, how can they be protected? So in answer to that only, 6th canto starts with Ajamila's pastime, if you remember. So that's how this whole canto is actually laid out. So 16 to 20, canto 5, chapter 16 to 20, that's what we are discussing now. Okay, so that's why we haven't discussed anything about the height yet. We will come to that later, but today we will touch on some of the aspects that is actually there, placed just above Bhu-mandala, which is still very much part of Bhu-mandala, but just above, which means we'll be discussing about Sumeru, we'll discuss about the descent of Mother Ganga as well. You may wonder, what does the descent of Mother Ganga do with this description of universe? When we go through the details of that, you will understand it. But that's what we're going to discuss today. Okay. So last week, what we discussed was there is universe. There are 14 planetary systems in the universe. I'm just repeating. Originally, it was one single tract of land ruled by Swayambhuva Manu, ruler of the entire Bhu-mandala. In fact, scriptures is actually telling, for Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, every king, they ruled the entire Bhu-mandala. Satya, Treta. Dwapara Yuga, if you take Yudhishthir Maharaj was still the king of entire Jambudvipa. If you read descriptions in Mahabharata, you will see how Arjuna, he went to the different varshas. Arjuna is in Bharata Varsha, but he goes to each one of the varsha and he conquers the people there during the Rajasuya sacrifice. So some places he would go, he'll conquer. In fact, the one immediately above Bharata Varsha, you have Kimpurusha Varsha, we'll see that shortly. He goes there, defeats everyone and claims sovereignty there also. Then he goes to one level higher. When he goes to Hari Varsha, that's when the gods, they actually tell him, please don't come and wage war here because this place is no place for fighting. So then Arjuna says, well, either you fight with me or you give something as a gift, as a token of your submissiveness to the kingship of my elder brother, which is Yudhishthir Maharaj. Then they say, all right, they give him fine cloth as a gift which he carries. And then he goes to each one and then that's how. So Arjuna is no ordinary warrior. He was actually going, claiming different tracts of land in Jambudvip itself. Yudhishthir Maharaj was ruler of Jambudvipa. Parikshit Maharaj was ruler of Jambudvipa. When Kali Yuga started after that, then the kings also, Manda, Sumanta, Matyo, kings also became weaker. So originally, Satya and Treta, everyone was ruling this entire Bhu-mandala. Then Dwapara Yuga, it came to just Jambudvipa. And then Kali Yuga, it got divided, subdivided. Now even one single globe, which is just Bharata Kanda, one single division of Bharata Varsha, even that is not ruled by one single king. It's again got divided like that. Okay, so coming back to our discussion, or rather revision. So originally it was one single tract of land that was ruled by Swayambhuva Manu, given to Priyavrata. Priyavrata, using his chariot, remember he expanded himself into two, and then he divided this into 7 oceans and islands. Then he gave it to each one of his sons. If you remember, he had 7 sons to whom he gave. Through his other wife, he begot 3 other sons who later became 3rd, 4th, and 5th Manu, Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata Manu, if you remember. So he gave the kingship to his sons. The one who ruled the central one, which is Jambudvipa, his name was Agnidhara. Agnidhara in turn took Jambudvipa, which is just the central portion. I'm just drawing the aerial view. He then divided this into 9 different sections. And then he gave to each one of his sons southernmost section. So each one of this section is called varshas. So Agnidhara took Jambudvipa, he ruled it, and then he divided Jambudvipa into 9 different portions or sections called varshas, and he gave the kingship to each one of his sons. The southernmost one was called Ajanaba Varsha. Then Ajanaba's descendants, if you see, there is Rishabdev, or not Ajabnaba, rather, Nabi. His descendant is Rishabdev, then Bharat Maharaj. Then after Bharat Maharaj, 9 of his younger Kshatriya brothers, they ruled each one of the different island. I'm just expanding it bigger. This is just Bharata Varsha. They started ruling each one of the 9 different divisions. Southernmost division, that is Bharata Kanda. That's where we live. That's the tiny bit. That's where we live. Here also, that's where we live. Okay, so this is what we were discussing last week. We are very, very tiny. In that, you have Prabhupada once in the famous conversation with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Prabhupada says that, so Krishna breathes out unlimited universes as Mahavishnu, and then in unlimited universes, there are 14 planetary systems. There is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and then Prabhupada goes on to say, likewise, there are 14 planetary systems, Bhu-mandala. In that, one tiny planet is Mother Earth. Then Prabhupada starts to dissect it further. And then Prabhupada says, in that, there is this tiny continent or country called America. In that tiny New York City, there is one tiny building. And in that, or like San Francisco, in that, there is one temple. And in that, there is Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Tamal Krishna, who thinks he is very important. Prabhupada says like that. So we tend to think, we always think rather, not tend, that we are the center of the universe. Actually, center of the universe is always Krishna. In fact, if you remember, that's the reason why Shukadeva Goswami goes on to describe about these different sections, to establish the fact, no matter whichever corner of the universe you go, no matter whichever species of life you take, there is always a possibility for you to get connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established everywhere, including the covering of the universe. Okay, so this is what we discussed. All right. So that's Bhu-mandala. So if you look at slide 2, you will see the cross-section of the universe. So you see Garbhodaka ocean here, and above that is Bhu-mandala. That's the 7th planetary system. You can see in the center, there is like a pericap of a lotus, like a triangle you can see, like a carrot inserted there in the center. So that is Mount Sumeru. And keeping Mount Sumeru as the pivot, if you see, there are concentric circles. Each one of them, the centermost, the one circle that's immediately around Mount Sumeru, that one, that's Jambudvipa, that is surrounded by saltwater ocean. Likewise, you have Lakshadvipa, Shalmalidvipa, Kushadvipa, Kraunchadvipa, so on and so forth. Okay, Pushkaradvipa is the last one. Shakadvipa, that's the 6th one. So likewise, you have each one of them. Okay, so this is the cross-section actually of the universe, and this is the 7th planetary system. We saw this last week. Let's go to slide 3. I put it here just to give you a context of what we are discussing now. So this is, again, vertical section rather, of the entire universe. The previous one is the cross-section. This is if you cut the whole universe vertically. This is what you see. So here you see, this is slide 3. So here if you see, same thing. This is Bhu-mandala. That's there. In Bhu-mandala, centralmost section, you see there is Mount Sumeru. And above Mount Sumeru, this is what we are going to discuss in chapter 21 to 26. This is what we'll be discussing. Okay, above Mount Sumeru, if you see the nakshatras, the stars, 28 of them, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, all the way above. If you go Saptarishis, then you have Dhruvaloka, and above Dhruvaloka are the other 4 planetary systems, Maharjanas, Tapas, Satya, like that. We'll be discussing all of that, plus movement of the sun, how time is calculated and everything. Unlike, modern understanding, which says that sun is in the center and all the planets revolve around, Vedic cosmology follows the geocentric model. Earth is center, sun goes around the earth. Calculations will still be the same because the calculations are based on the relative distance between any 2 planets. Okay, but if you see here, sun is actually going around. So that's how we'll be studying. So this is just to give you a context. So far, as I said, we are simply discussing, say, chapters 16 to 20. We are simply discussing about the breadth of the universe, which is just the island of Bhu-mandala, or rather the planetary system of Bhu-mandala and the different islands. In that, description of Jambudvipa will be given in a bit more detail. Why? Because Shukadeva Goswami is giving this katha of Srimad Bhagavatam in Bhu-mandala. If you go to higher planetary system, you will find more details about, if you go for 5th canto there, you will find more information about each one of those respective planetary systems. So we'll come back to this picture later, but this will give you some understanding. So currently we are just discussing about the 7th planetary system here. All right. Let's go to a bit more detail. As I said, we are going to discuss Mount Sumeru. Okay, I'll start with the same picture here. So Mount Sumeru is like, if you have done geometry, you have any center. Okay, if you use a compass, for example, you will put the needle at one point. That central pivot, that is Mount Sumeru. So for all Vedic cosmology measurements, this is kept as the reference point. It doesn't move, it stays. Sun is in the center of the universe, but sun is usually not kept as a reference point because sun moves. There's northward and southward movement, whereas for any calculations in Vedic cosmology, if you see, Sumeru is kept as the central point. Distance will usually be measured from that point till, okay, what's the distance between Sumeru to the first island or to the second island or somewhere above, so on and so forth. You will always see it that way. So this is Mount Sumeru. Again, in here, if you actually see, Mount Sumeru is here, and the centralmost Jambudvipa. So that's what you see here. Now, Mount Sumeru, even though it looks like it's above the planetary system, part of it comes below also. The unit of measurement that's given in Srimad Bhagavatam to calculate the astronomical distance, it's called yojana. 1 yojana is equal to 8 miles. So all the calculations that you see in 5th canto, you would see, it would say yojana, okay, 1000 yojana, or the height of Mount Sumeru, you will see it is 100,000 yojana. 100,000 yojana means 100,000 multiplied by 8. So then you calculate it accordingly. The height of Mount Sumeru is exactly same as the width of Jambudvipa. Actually, Jambudvipa is just there. So the width of Jambudvipa and height of Mount Sumeru, they both are same. Width is 100 yojanas, 100,000 yojanas rather, and the height of Mount Sumeru is also 100,000 yojanas, of which 84 or above Bhu-mandala, 16 or below Bhu-mandala. That's how it's given. So what you see in slide 4 is just the aerial view. So if you go above here and if you see, this is what you will notice. So you have Mount Sumeru there. That's in the center. And the Varsha or the portion of Jambudvipa where Mount Sumeru is located is called Ilavarta Varsha. If you remember, so you have, this is just Jambudvipa. I'm just showing aerial section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bharata Varsha is here. Centralmost Varsha is called Ilavarta Varsha. That's where Lord Shiva and Parvati, they reside. We'll come to that detail shortly. So what you see in slide 4 here is Sumeru is here. If you look at it from above. So this is if you look from the sideways, and this is if you look from above. So this is Mount Sumeru. The one that's given in as a golden circle, that's Mount Sumeru here. Now, if you look at Mount Sumeru from above, central one is easy. So as I said, it's like a carrot, aerial view. And the height of Mount Sumeru is Mount Sumeru is made of solid gold, and the height of it is 100,000 yojanas. So that's Mount Sumeru. Now Mount Sumeru is surrounded by, if you see, a series of mountains. You will see there are 3 there. First mountain, so this is slide 4 if you see. So the first mountain, it's actually given, there are immediately surrounding Mount Sumeru, there are 4 pairs of mountains around. So if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have Mount Kailash, Karavira. You see 3 and 4. Likewise, if you see surrounding each one, Trishanka, Makara, so on and so forth. So Mount Sumeru is immediately surrounded by these 4 pairs of different mountains. And then outside of those 4 pairs of mountains, you have these 4 other prominent mountains. The description that's actually given in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, you will come across, there is a mountain, Mandara mountain, that had a huge gigantic tree of mango. And the huge mango falls down, and then it made a river of mango juice. So all those descriptions you will see about Mandara mountain there. Likewise, you see Meru Mandara. This is another one. This is where you will come across huge fruit called jambu fruit. And then the jambu fruit falls down. Lot of huge jambu fruits, they fall down and they form river. And they flood the whole area. You will come across all of that. And when they start to flood that area, they started to convert the banks of both sides of the river into gold, so on and so forth. And you will see the inhabitants in that area, they take that material and made jewelry. Like that you will see description. Likewise, you see here, there is another one and there is one more there. Okay. So each one of these mountains, they have one other prominent tree. So here if you see, that's a mango tree. Here you see a jambu tree. It's only like a flagstaff. Okay. If you go to a hill or somebody, let's say a huge mountain peak, somebody climbs up, you'll see they'll usually plant their national flag there. Likewise, there's these huge mountains that are surrounding Mount Sumeru, these 4 mountains. At the tip of that mountain, like if you see Kumuda, at the tip of that mountain you see a banyan tree. Like that you will see in each one of them. Okay, like Mandara you see a mango tree, like that. Meru Mandara you see a jambu tree, so on and so forth. So that's the second layer of mountains that are surrounding. So Mount Sumeru is in the center. Immediately surrounding Mount Sumeru are 4 pairs of mountains, and the next circle is actually with each one of these other 4 mountains, one on each direction you see. Now immediately after that you see the dots, okay, and they are connected by a thin line. That is called Kesharachala mountain. Keshara means thin filament. And there are a series of 20 mountains. Now, even though they look like very thin, their height is almost as tall as Sumeru, which means, if you see here, Kesharachala mountain, they are very thin compared to Mount Meru, but their height is almost like that. You will understand the significance of them when we discuss about Mother Ganga. Okay, and then you see, so that's the third level of mountain. So basically, there's Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru is covered on all directions by 3 other series of mountains. First is those pair, and the second one is the single mountain in the middle, and the third layer is all these dots that you see. They are all series of mountains called the Kesharachala, and they all surround Mount Meru. So it's as if Mount Meru is there in the center, flanked by his friends on all sides, basically. Okay, his associates on all sides. And each one of them, they are personalities. Prabhupada says mountains also have life. So they support Mount Meru. So this is how the description is given. And as we were discussing, Mount Meru is in the center, and that is Ilavarta Varsha, if you see here. Okay. Now, if I have to draw Mount Meru again, if you look at the board, so if you take this as Jambudvipa, so you have Mount Sumeru. So I said 84,000 yojanas, 84,000 yojanas above, and there is 16 below yojanas. Now, this one, as you can see, immediately it is surrounded by 4 pairs of mountains on all the 4 sides. Okay, so you have 2 mountains here, 2 there, 2 there, and then 2 more on the other side. Then you have each one of the other bigger mountains, 1 on each side. So that's the next level, 1 more that side. Then surrounding that are this series of Kesharachala mountain, which is almost as tall as them. And they are also surrounding on all the sides. So this is how this description is given. So if you go back to the previous picture here, so Mount Sumeru is there in slide 3. At the top you see there is Mount Sumeru. The Mount Sumeru's height is almost equaled by each one of those Kesharachala mountain. It's very, very tiny here, may not be visible. Okay, let's move to text 5, or rather slide 5. So here Mount Sumeru is there in the middle, surrounded by each one of these different layers of mountains. Now, slide 5 is actually going to tell you, it zooms out a bit, and you can see how Mount Sumeru is actually positioned in relation to each one of the different varshas. So you have Mount Sumeru here in the center. Again, there are pairs of mountains on all sides. Again, next layer is the individual mountain that's there, followed by another circle of Kesharachala mountain. And they are all in Ilavarta Varsha. So that's the centralmost Varsha, you see. Right side you have Bhadrashva Varsha, then Ketumala, so on and so forth. Each one of the Varsha is demarcated from the other one by a mountain. So if you see, even starting from below Bharata Varsha, you have Mount Himalaya. After Himalaya, Himalaya divides Bharata Varsha and Kimpurusha Varsha. Then you see Hemakuta. It divides Hari Varsha and Kimpurusha Varsha. So on and so forth. You will see everywhere. Okay. So Mount Sumeru, it's in the center, surrounded by all these mountains. And then Mount Sumeru is positioned in Ilavarta Varsha. Ilavarta Varsha is where Lord Shiva is. And then each one of the other Varshas, they are also, you see, they are also symmetrically placed around Mount Sumeru. Okay. Now, presiding deities, if you go to slide 6, in each one of these different Varshas. So the centralmost Varsha, it's called Ilavarta Varsha. Presiding deity is Sankarshana, and the key inhabitant is Lord Shiva. It's mentioned Lord Shiva is the only male in Ilavarta Varsha. Whoever goes to Ilavarta Varsha, if they are in body, they will get converted into female. Okay, there is a curse which, not really a curse, that's the condition of the place, so to speak, which Mother Parvati, to please Mother Parvati, Lord Shiva actually had made that condition. Whoever comes there, they would get changed to female body as soon as they cross these borders, because Lord Shiva is the only male in that place. So that's Ilavarta Varsha. Sankarshana is worshipped, and Shiva is the key inhabitant. There are billions of maidservants for Mother Parvati there who assist Mother Parvati in worship of Lord Shiva. Likewise, you see, I'll start from the top. We have Kuruvarsha, where personality, Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, she worships Varahadev. So Varahadev is the presiding deity there, and the key inhabitant or the prominent personality who is leading the worship is Mother Earth. Likewise, you have Kurmadev in Hiranyamaya Varsha. The worship is led by Aryama. Then in Ramyaka Varsha, you see Matsyaavatar being worshipped. That's where Swayambhuva Manu, or rather our current Manu, he is there, which is Vaivashvata Manu. Okay, so our current Manu is Vaivashvata Manu. He is currently residing there. We are residing here. Okay, so Vaivashvata Manu is there, Ramyaka Varsha, and he is worshipping Manu. He is worshipping Matsyaavatar there. Okay, so Ramyaka Varsha is where Vaivashvata Manu is currently residing, and he is worshipping Matsyaavatar. Likewise, you see Ketumala Varsha. Rishikesha, he is the worshipable Lord, and Lakshmiji, she is leading the worship of Rishikesha there. Likewise, you see Bhadrashva Varsha, Hayashirsha or Hayagriva. He is the worshipable Lord, and the worship is actually led by Bhadrashva, is son of Dharma. Then we have Harivarsha. Narsinghadev is there. Worship is actually led by Prahlad Maharaj. Then we have Kimpurusha Varsha, that's where Hanumanji, Sugriva, everyone is there. Lord Ram is worshipped. Bharata Varsha ki Jai. So in Bharata Varsha, the presiding deity is Naranarayana Rishi. It's mentioned they would reside in Bharata Varsha personally for rest of the Kalpa. And they would teach everyone about how to be sense controlled and how to lead a life of regulation in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the one who is leading the worship is Narada Muni. Narada Muni, it's mentioned, he does two activities simultaneously. On one hand, he is worshipping Naranarayana Rishis eternally there. Narada Muni also can expand. Narada Muni himself says in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, normally it's not possible for jivas to expand, but when the jivas are endowed with that potency by the Supreme Lord, they can expand. So Narada Muni here, he simultaneously engages in worship of Naranarayana Rishi as their disciple. He also runs the induction program for Savarni Manu, who is our next Manu. Current is Vaivashvata. Before current Manu, it was Chakshusha. Our next Manu is Savarni. We have, remember, Savarni, Daksha Savarni. So, Savarni Manu is getting induction program from Narada Muni in Bharata Varsha as we speak now. Okay, he teaches him in the process of Sankhya and Yoga. Okay, so teaches him on the process of devotional service to Savarni Manu. So Narada Muni is currently there, and that's what he is doing. So slide 6 actually describes about the names of the different varshas, the presiding deity in each one of those different varshas, as well as the key inhabitant who is leading the worship. Okay, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll also discuss, or rather Srimad Bhagavatam also discusses in 5th canto about the different prayers that's been offered by each one of those key inhabitants. So if you look at slide 7, you will see the section that actually describes, like for example, in Ilavarta Varsha, if you go to the first row, in Ilavarta Varsha, presiding deity is Sankarshana, key inhabitant is Lord Shiva. So if you read this section, 5th canto, 17th chapter, 15th verse to 24, it will describe about the prayers that they actually offer, okay, in Ilavarta Varsha, how they are actually worshipping Lord Shiva. Likewise, if you go to Bhadrashva Varsha, Hari Varsha, Ketumala, so on and so forth. Okay, so if you go to Bharata Varsha, text, rather 5th canto, 19th chapter, 9th verse to 15th verse, it describes about Narada Muni's prayers to Naranarayana Rishi in Bharata Varsha, like that. Okay, we are not going to go into the details. That itself, we need a separate series of classes. We are just getting some idea how everyone fits in this picture. So basically, that's how it's described. I'm going to rub this off. And I'm going to revise. Okay, so last class we discussed about universe, Bhu-mandala. Bhu-mandala was divided into 7 islands by Priyavrata. Priyavrata then handed it over to each one of his sons. The centralmost island, that's called Jambudvipa. that Jambudvipa was in turn divided into 9 different varshas. Each one of the different varshas, they are demarcated by a mountain. So if you see the previous picture, which is slide 5, it will tell you the name of the mountain also. Like Kuruvarsha and Hiranmaya Varsha, they are demarcated by Shringavan mountain. Likewise, you see Shweta mountain, it divides Hiranmaya Varsha and Ramyaka Varsha, so on and so forth. Gandhamadana mountain, it divides Ilavarta and Bhadrashva. Many times you will come across pastimes about Gandhamadana. For example, Arjuna went to the higher planetary system, did favor for Indra, learnt all these musical skills, and then he descends down in Gandhamadana mountain. Okay, so you will come across Gandhamadana in many pastimes also. You will see, even many Puranic stories will be there, Some sage will be there doing tapasya. In every mountain means there will be sages. And then, because it's in it's called Bhauma Swarga, or the Swarga or heavenly realm in Bhu-mandala. You will also find the demigods there. And almost always they will end up doing something abominable or something to disturb the sages, and they will get the curses. You will see many pastimes around that area. Okay, of different kings or different demigods, they went and they disturbed one sage in his tapasya, or some apsara going there. They go and disturb a sage who is engaged in penance, and they'll get the curse. So in that sense, it's a little notorious, but sages are there. It's very, very favorable for their meditation. So each one of these different varshas, each one of these different mountains, you will come across different pastimes. So next time you read any Puranic story, you come across anything, Gajendra's pastime, you try to locate now. Okay. Purpose of our seminar is simply to give you some familiarity so that we don't get confused, we don't get lost in names. When we come across some mountain name, it should actually, when we come across Gandhamadana, at least it should ring a bell. Yes, it's there, I've seen it. Okay. Himakuta, you will come across pastimes like that. So that is there. Okay, Himalaya, that's there. We'll come to Himalayas later. Likewise, each one of them, Nila, Shweta, Shringavan. If you see, for example, even Ekadashi Mahatmya, you will come across stories. There used to be once a king in such a mountain, so on and so forth. So next time you come across, you come to 5th canto, and you at least go through these pictures and see, okay, where is this actually happening? Usually we tend to forget, or we just skip it. It's just too complicated. Is it important? It's a good opportunity, because Devamartha Maharaj, I remember, when he was giving a scripture class here, he was telling, when you go through some verses, you may even see mention of, Duryodhana there. Now, what's so spiritual about Duryodhana? Bhagavatam is Amala Puran, supposed to be teaching us pure devotional service. And you will come across a different description. Shukracharya is there. What has Shukracharya got to do with pure devotional service? We may think. But everyone somehow, or everything that's actually described here, they are somehow connected to devotees or Krishna. Either directly to Krishna or connected to Krishna through his devotees. Okay, so somewhere we can understand. That should be, when we read any verse, that should be our meditation. Okay, Sanatana Goswami says, every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is a worshipable deity. Okay, so that should be our focus when we study. Next time, okay, I've heard this. So where is it actually located? Okay, so coming back to this, there's universe, Bhu-mandala, different dvipas. Central one is Jambudvipa, divided into 9 varshas. Centralmost one, that's what holds Sumeru mountain, we were discussing. And as far as Sumeru mountain is concerned, it's there, 84 yojanas above and 16 yojanas below. You will understand this more when we go to subterranean planets. For now, take it theoretically at least. 84 is above. Well, even then also you have to take it theoretically, but assume 84 is above and 16 below. Okay? And then it is surrounded by 4 pairs of mountains on all 4 sides. And then there is single mountain on all sides. And then you have the tall Kesharachala mountain, which are 20 different filaments connected together. So it's like a series of mountains connected. So this is the description we saw. We then saw the aerial view of the different varshas in relation to Mount Sumeru. So Mount Sumeru is there in the center in Ilavarta Varsha. That's the 4 pairs of mountains surrounded by these big mountains, then surrounded by Kesharachala mountain. Then Each one of those different varshas, they are placed symmetrically around Mount Sumeru. We also discussed about who are the presiding deities in each one of them and who are the key inhabitants in each one of these different varshas of Jambudvipa. Okay, we were also discussing how in Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, the kings were ruling the entire Bhu-mandala. When Yudhishthir Maharaj was actually ruling in Dwapara Yuga, he was ruling the entire Jambudvipa, centralmost island. Then in Kali Yuga it dwindled. We are only whichever kings, there is no kingship here, but they are ruling only tiny different fragments of that. Okay. So and these are the presiding deities and the prayers which they actually offer. This is slide 7. The prayers that is offered by each one of these different key inhabitants, leading hordes of their followers, associates in their worship to their presiding deity. That section you can actually see in this slide. If you go to that section in Srimad Bhagavatam, it will tell you in detail what prayers they offer, what's their mood, so on and so forth. Okay, that brings us to the next chapter, which is Descent of Mother Ganga. Now the reason why Descent of Mother Ganga is mentioned here is if you simply follow the route which she traverses, you will get more familiarized with each one of these different aspects or each one of these different parts of Bhu-mandala. Okay, like for example, if you look at this chart, this is slide 8. Okay, her origin is from causal ocean. Okay, she arrives as a perspiration from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is causal ocean. When Vamanadev was scaling the entire universe in 3 paces, when he took with his left foot, he pierced open the shell, and through that shell hole, causal ocean water seeps in, and then she comes into our particular universe. Okay, so origin is causal ocean. So from causal ocean, she then comes in. Causal ocean, if you see, the universe is actually floating in causal ocean. Through that hole, the water of causal ocean comes. It traverses the first 4 higher planetary system, which is Maharjanas, Tapas, Satya, all 4. From the time she starts to seep into the whole of the universe to the time she reaches Dhruvaloka, it took 1000 yugas. Okay, so Mother Ganga, at this part of her journey, she is called as Mandakini. You would have come across. In some places, she would be called by the name Mandakini. Have you come across this? Okay, Manda means slow, lazy. Manda Sumanda Mataya. So Mandakini means slow moving river. That's what it means. Mandakini Ganga means Mother Ganga, but when she is moving slow. That's Mandakini. Okay, so at the top here she comes through and then she moves very slowly. From the top of the universe, by the time she actually comes to Dhruvaloka, it took 1000 yugas. That's how long it took. Then when she arrives at Dhruvaloka, Dhruva Maharaj starts worshipping her, holding her holy waters on his head, and he starts to worship her. Then from there, she then descends down to Saptarishis planets. Saptarishis, if you remember, there are 7 rishis. Kashyapa, Atri, Vashishtascha, Vishwamitra, Atta Gautama, Jamadagni, Bharadwaja, Iti Saptarishi Asmrita. Each one of them, they have their planets. You see, they circumambulate around Dhruvaloka. So you see the Saptarishi planets. She then comes, purifies each one of those Saptarishis planets, and it's mentioned from there, as she actually comes down, she has been carried by billions of airplanes by the demigods in different planetary systems. Mother Ganga, she also takes different forms, sometimes visible, sometimes invisible also. She even appears in the sky as stars, as in Milky Way. So technically, Milky Way is called as Akash Ganga. That's actually Mother Ganga. So she can, just like we see Mother Earth, she can take the form of Prithvi. Sometimes you see her taking form of a cow. And in Matsya Lila, or Matsya Avatar Lila, if you see, you would see Mother Earth taking the form of a boat. So same way, Mother Ganga also, sometimes you see she comes as a personality herself in human form. Sometimes as water, sometimes even as stars it's mentioned. She stays there. Now, have you got this experience? Sometimes on a broad daylight, there is no cloud at all, sun is still shining, but then suddenly it starts to rain, even though there is no reason. That water, it's mentioned, it's spiritual. If you manage to get that on your head, it's mentioned, you get completely purified. And you, technically at that point, if you give up, you'll get liberated. So next time you see, you see it raining with sun shining and no clouds at all. That water is coming all the way from there. And it falling straight, our earth is somewhere here, in this one tiny bit. So next time you actually see that water is coming straight from Akash Ganga. So that's the description that's given. Okay. So next time you see it raining, but no cloud, run out. And then bathe yourself in the mercy. Okay. So that's given. So, okay, coming back to this flow, the journey which she takes from causal ocean, she comes to Dhruvaloka, from there to Saptarishi planets, then carried by the different demigods, comes to moon, and then from moon she then falls on Sumeru mountain. Okay, till this point, it may sound irrelevant. Now from this point onwards, it will be very relevant for our discussion. Okay, so if I move to the next slide, which is slide 9. So when she falls in the on top of Mount Sumeru. So this is top of Mount Sumeru. Okay, this is Sumeru mountain. You can see this is slide 9. Sumeru mountain is located in Jambudvipa. Now, on top of Mount Sumeru, there are these different cities of the different Lokapalas. Lokapalas means they are the different demigods in charge of different direction. Okay, you see north, that's Kuvera. You see east, Indra. Then you see northeast, you see Shiva there. Each one of them, they have their resort there. Each one of them, they live in their own planetary system. This is like their, getaway, holiday resort. So they live on top of Mount Sumeru. The centralmost one is called Manovati, also called as Brahmapuri. Okay, that's where Lord Brahma also, he stays there. Facility that you see for Lord Brahma and others is very similar, except that others are tiny in terms of their capacity. But otherwise, it's mentioned Mother Ganga when she actually comes down. So I'll go back here. So slide 8, if you see, Mother Ganga is coming all the way from the top of the universe, coming through, then she comes through Dhruvaloka, from there Saptarishis, different planetary system, moon, and then finally she falls there on top of Sumeru. Okay, so when she falls right there on the courtyard of Lord Brahma. And Brahma uses Mother Ganga for his Sandhya Vandana, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Brahma requests Mother Ganga to then take 4 branches and then inundate Bhu-mandala. So upon request of Brahma, so here you see there is Brahma who is in the middle, in the top portion of Mount Sumeru. And then you have each of these different demigods who is living in their own city. So you have, for example, Kuvera, his city is Mahodaya, Shiva, Yashavati, Indra, Amaravati, so on and so forth. You will see all around, okay? So the water of Mother Ganga falls there in the centralmost part of Mount Sumeru, which is Manovati. And from there, upon request of Lord Brahma, if you go to slide 10, on request of Lord Brahma, she then divides into 4 different parts. Okay, so until it comes to Brahmapuri, she comes as one single personality. From there, she is still one single personality, but she divides herself into 4 different parts. So if you look at the direction, north, the Mother Ganga, her tributary, or the branch that she actually goes and inundates, that name of Mother Ganga is Bhadra. So that's the one that goes in north. The one that goes towards east is Sita. That's the name of Mother Ganga, the branch of Mother Ganga who goes towards east and flooding all the different varshas that side. The one that is coming south is Alaknanda. So the Mother Ganga, the branch of Mother Ganga who inundates planet Earth, that's Alaknanda. Okay, because we are south. If you remember, this is Mount Sumeru, this is north, which means south of Alaknanda is where Bharatavarsha is. Okay, how she exactly reaches from Mount Sumeru to Bharatavarsha, we'll see that in the next class. So the one that goes towards the west, her name is Chakshu. Okay, so this is how the description is given. Now, why is Mother Ganga's descent relevant till this point? It may not be relevant for our discussion of Bhu-mandala, but from moving forward, it will be very relevant because the path which she actually takes, that part actually becomes inundated with the love of Godhead, whichever place she actually goes. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he sings, there is a reference in Chaitanya Bhagavat that says, whoever comes in contact with even the breeze that touched Mother Ganga, they'll get love of Godhead. So, Lord Brahma, he's our, we follow Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, Mother Ganga's mercy is a gift of our Parampara Acharya, okay, which is Lord Brahma. So, Brahma actually requests Mother Ganga to go and flood the different, or rather inundate the different quarters of Jambudvipa, and that's how she comes. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll quickly recap again. We started with, so last class, there is one universe, Bhu-mandala. Bhu-mandala was then divided into 7 different dvipas. Centralmost one is called Jambudvipa. Jambudvipa was in turn divided, just the aerial view, you see it here. So Jambudvipa, the central one, divided into 9 different varshas. Mount Sumeru is there in the centralmost varsha, which is called Ilavata Varsha, we were discussing. We are discussing also on the different ranges of mountains that flank Mount Sumeru on different directions. We have 4 different pairs of mountains first, then we have another huge mountain, one on each side, plus we have 20 other taller mountains, very thin filament, relatively speaking, but they are almost as tall as Mount Sumeru. They are called Kesharachala mountain. They surround them. Then we were discussing about each of the prominent personalities in each of the different Varsha. Like we have Bharata Varsha, prominent personality, Narada Muni, presiding deity, Naranarayana Rishi. Likewise we saw. Next is Kimpurusha Varsha. We have Hanumanji, Sugriva, they are the key inhabitants. Worshipable deity, Lord Ram. Like that. Hari Varsha, you go Prahlad Maharaj, Narasimhadev. Like that, so on and so forth. We discussed about that. We also discussed about, so this is just the side view. So there is Mount Sumeru, 84 yojanas. 1 yojana is equal to 8 miles. 84 yojanas is above Bhu-mandala. 16 is below. And you see the 3 different layers of mountains that are surrounding Mount Sumeru. We discussed about descent of Mother Ganga. So if we go to slide 8, you see the descent of Mother Ganga. Initially, her origin is from Causal Ocean. From there, she comes to Dhruvaloka, then to Saptarishi planets, then carried, and then she comes to Moon, and then she falls on top of Mount Sumeru and divides into 4 branches. So, slide 9 actually talks about the different names of the cities, the heavenly resort cities on top of Mount Sumeru. The central one is Brahma, and each one of the other 8, they belong to each one of the different Lokapalas, who was the demigods of their respective directions. So upon request of Brahma, she comes and then she divides herself into 4 branches. The one that goes north is Bhadra, the one on east is Sita, the one south is Alaknanda. She is the one. So Mother Ganga, who comes and inundates our planet Earth, is Alaknanda, and the one that goes west is Chakshu. I'll stop there. Any question? Yes, Prabhu. Okay, so the question is, we usually talk about the holy rivers. Different holy rivers we come across. Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Kaveri, Tamrabarani, Krishna, Narmada, Tapti, so on and so forth. So Prabhu's question is, what about the other rivers in the west? Now there are references that's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. What makes a river holy? What makes a river holy? When Mother Ganga goes and cries to Krishna that I have descended down to purify this world, but everyone is coming to me, they are dumping their sins. What makes a river holy? Yes. Then Krishna actually replies, yes, when sinners, when they come, take a holy bath, and when they go out, then they leave the sins with you. However, when devotees, they come, they take a holy bath, they will take away your sins. You will always remain pure. So Krishna gives her that benediction. So whether it's east or west doesn't matter. As long as there are devotees who are there going and associating with the river, every river is holy, actually. So if you say Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, for example, even though he knew that his end was coming near, and there are devotees who requested him, why doesn't he leave Western country and go to India to quit his body? Maharaj's reply was, well, Srila Prabhupada himself has come to Gita Nagari. This is as good as Vrindavan. So I don't need to go anywhere else. So same way, when we actually see, it's not a question of whether it's India or outside India. Okay, whether it's mentioned in scriptures or not. Prabhupada, he flooded the whole world with this mercy. Wherever devotees go and associate, that becomes. I remember there was one Kirtan cruise, I think, which Indraduna Maharaj had, I think in Thames. As good as Mother Ganga, as good as Yamuna. So wherever, Tatra Tishtami Narada, Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta. So wherever there is holy names heard, places become holy, including rivers. In fact, in Srila Prabhupada Leela.org website, I was reading yesterday, I think. So in every day they'll say one pastime, and sometime they'll also say, every day the snippet will also have a section that would say places made holy. So I think yesterday, if you see, under places made holy, Jagannath Puri is listed, which means Jagannath Puri is made holy by Prabhupada's visit. That's what it means. Sydney is a holy place. This is Tirtha, like that. Okay, so we can always say that it doesn't matter whichever place, as long as you chant the holy name, it's as good as that. Okay, in fact, Ganga, we can even take bath with Ganga even in our shower simply by chanting Ganga, Ganga, Ganga 3 times. Okay, so every day morning when you go for shower, remember to chant 3 times. That's the same as taking bath in Ganga. Okay, any other question? Yeah. So question is, does planet Earth exist even before Bhu-mandala was actually divided? It existed. It was just under one single king. Everything was created at the dawn of creation. Nothing was created new. They all existed. It's like you draw a boundary, for example. Okay, just because, let's say, one country may get divided into 2, doesn't mean one country was newly created. It's not like that. It's the same thing, just the demarcation was made. And that also we were discussing simply for governing purposes. So people can live with that natural boundary, they can live peacefully without quarreling with each other. Okay, so it did exist. Yes. Okay. Question is it true that karma exists only in Bharata Kanda? Karma exists in Bharata Varsha. In all other, among the 9 varshas that we actually see, so if you go to, okay, slide 6, so you have each one of the different varshas. Ilavarta Varsha, Ketumala, Bhadrashva, Hari, Kimpurusha, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru Varsha. So the way how it works is, I think we were discussing this in the 22 Leela Avatar. So there are 14 planetary systems. Let us say this is Bhuloka. Bhuvarloka is where Rakshasas, ghostly spirits, they live. And then above is Swarga. From Swarga Loka, let us say there is one demigod. He is supposed to live there for 10,000 years. With 1 day equal to 1 year here, earthly year. Okay. They live for 10,000 years. When their tenure finishes, Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti, Srila Prabhupada often used to quote. From there, they run out of all their pious credit. When they fall in one of the other different places, one of the other 8 varshas. Okay, so they live there. Supreme Lord is so merciful. This is their retirement plan. Supreme Lord accepting, yes, their credit has actually finished. Nevertheless, Supreme Lord acknowledging their wonderful services which they have rendered. Supreme Lord comes and gives them association in each one of the other places. However, Srimad Bhagavatam is very quick to add, even though the facilities that are there in each one of the other varshas, they are very heavenly. Nevertheless, in spite of all those heavenly enjoyment, they will always still remember the Supreme Lord. And that's a problem in Bharata Varsha, because whenever there is enjoyment, we forget Supreme Lord. They are still demigods. They are still remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, in all their humility, we'll be reading that section next week, they will glorify about the elevated birth one takes by appearing in Bharatavarsha. So, even though they have so much enjoyment, there are series of verses that's actually given. We'll go through them next class about the glories of appearing. Sydney Dham ki jai. Okay, so the karma is there. Karma Kshetra is only Bharatavarsha. All the 9 kandas in Bharatavarsha. Entire Bharatavarsha is karma. Place of karma or karma Kshetra. Okay, none of the others aren't. Both. Sometimes there is one pastime of associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what happens? The devotee worships Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gaur Nitai without going to the details. And he tells to Gaur Nitai, I want to be with you all the time. Then Gaur Nitai, they say, no problem. So immediately they make one pair of Gaur Nitai deities and they tell to the devotee, all right, so you worship. So then that devotee says, no, I want you to be there. So you be with me. Then Gaur Nitai say, all right, we'll be with you. So as they come closer to the devotee, the deities become Gaur Nitai and the personalities Gaur Nitai become deities. So then the deities start to move. Now this devotee is thinking, oh my God. Then he says like, no, I want you. As soon as he goes there, the deity again gets transformed to Gaur Nitai and he starts to move. After some time, he loses track which one is which. Okay? Deity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they both are same. Prabhupada in one talk which one of his disciples is giving, the disciple is actually telling, Prabhupada was actually present there and disciple is actually explaining that, so the Krishna is in the deity. Prabhupada is correcting. Krishna is the deity. Deity is Krishna. Okay? So there is no difference. But personalities themselves are there. Okay? Supreme Lord can be everywhere. Supreme Lord is there even in subterranean planets. Goes to show how merciful the Supreme Lord is. Okay? When we look at subterranean planets, we usually tend to shun it away. Oh, it's Patala. There is not even any light. That's what we tend to think. But Supreme Lord is accepting. What's our problem? That doesn't mean we should desire to go there, but goes to show how neutral Supreme Lord is. Whoever worships, he just goes and accepts. Like that. Okay. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
Just a curious question. When the demigods fall down, it's only on Jambudvipa, what about the other classes?
References are given about each one of the different varshas. So it's clearly mentioned that each one of them, when they fall in each one of these different varshas only. Like Shukadeva Goswami, when he explains in 5th canto about the structure of the universe, he says it's practically impossible for anybody to describe the structure of the universe in completion. Nevertheless, he says, I will give you an overview. In the overview which Shukadeva Goswami has actually given, he focuses on Jambudvipa, in that specifically to Bharatavarsha. Okay? Everything else in one sense out of syllabus for us. But it's sufficient for us to know that the demigods, after they finish their role, when they come down, they will appear in one of the other varshas and take the association of the Supreme Lord, association of pure devotees, like that. Yeah. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
Here, Ganga came and Lord Vanadev made a hole in the universe. And Vanadev came out in this Manvantara or the previous. There's only the first 6 or 7 Manvantaras, and later on there's no damage.
Yeah. So Saraswati was actually, Mother Saraswati, she was worshipped until Mother Ganga descended down. Okay. We'll finish here. Yes, Prabhu.
So Mother Ganga, she's continuously flowing.
Yes. So Mother Ganga, she is continuously flowing from Kosal Ocean. Now there is another pastime about Bhagirath Muni. So then where did Bhagirath Muni bring Mother Ganga from? We'll discuss that next class. Okay, we haven't finished the journey of Mother Ganga yet. Okay, so when I tell you the route, then you will understand where actually Bhagirath Muni brought Mother Ganga from. Okay? I just want to take this opportunity to thank all our wonderful devotees who helped us put together such a great, ecstatic festival. Before I proceed, let's all chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra for all the devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The idea of our indoor Ratha Yatra was originally conceived by our head pujari, Bhajagovinda Prabhu. So one day we were talking and he was saying that we are managing to actually run all the festivals, all programs without any compromise on our deity worship standard. Only festival which we may not be able to do is Ratha Yatra, because that involves you need to go out. So we were wondering, and then why not we run inside? That's how we came up with the idea. First person we contacted was Kirtan Rasa Prabhu. And he had like maybe 3 weekends, that's all he had. So Prabhu, this is our idea, can we do it? And he said like, yes, I can try. So then after that, we then approached each of the different teams. We have our head chef here, Prem Sagar Prabhu. So we asked him, Prabhu, will it be able for you to arrange prasad for different devotees to be door delivered? Prabhu said yes. I asked, how much can you do? He said, how much you want? I said, Prabhu, you tell me your limitation. How much ever you want, I'll do. You know, this is how Prabhu speaks. Then I said, Prabhu, what about 1,000? Yeah, we can do 1,008. You know, so then slowly the idea manifested, the service manifested, and then Bhakti Vriksha groups led by Anandamai Gopinath Prabhu and Sankirtan Narottam Prabhu, they started spending their weekends actually building. They divided the tasks into different. If you see what a coordination they had, such a beautiful replica of Jagannath Puri they made. And as we speak, we have already finished dispatching Mahaprasad for everyone who had registered. As we said, we have distributed so far about like 1,200 boxes. There are many devotees who registered even yesterday. So my humble request while I'm there is for all future festivals, please finish your registration ahead of time. We would love to serve you. And if you register beforehand, it will help us to actually cater for all of you better. So we have in our website, Facebook, as you can see, we are hyperactive in Facebook. We'll always be updating. You can check our Facebook page, ISKCON Sydney Temple. You can go to our website, iskcon.com.au. I'll also be posting the link for our WhatsApp group. You can join there as well. Plus, we are active in Instagram as well. So there are so many ways how you can connect with us. So whenever you see deadline or whenever you see any poster, please take a note of it, the details of it, and you can register, because we still have some more festivals coming. So please keep your eyes open and register it well on time so we can cater to much more broader community. So coming back to the point, so many wonderful devotees, each one of the devotees, they took lead, like for Ratha Yatra, or rather for Ratha Cart, Kirtan Rasa Prabhu took, for the Puri model, Sankirtan Prabhu and Andamai Prabhu took the leadership. For deity services, we have Bhajagovinda Prabhu, but I should make a special mention of Gayatri Mataji and Dwarkanath Prabhu. As I was saying, they take care of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra like their own kids. So yesterday, if you see, from dawn till dusk, they were doing one service after the other. Morning, they woke up the Lord, then they dressed the Lord, they set up the asan, then they cooked feast for the Lord, and then they came out, they did arati, did bhog offering, did chamar, carrying the deities around. They did everything from morning to evening. Let's chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Dwarkanath Prabhu and Gayatri Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we had each one of these different wonderful devotees who took the leadership in their own respective areas. Prasadam distribution, we had Madhagopal Prabhu and Sakiradhika Mataji taking leadership there. So they had a team of devotees, about 15 to 20 devotees, and then they distributed it. And as we speak, the prasadam is getting distributed at the doorstep of different members of our community. I received some messages, devotees asking, Prabhu, where is my Mahaprasad? We have started to distribute it. Prasadam has already left the temple yesterday itself. You would be receiving the prasad either today or latest by this Sunday. anytime from now till Sunday. So don't worry, if you have registered, you will get a box of prasad. Prem Sagar Prabhu ki jai. Okay, we'll chant 3 Hare Krishna Mahamantras for all the wonderful devotees who supported in one way, shape, form or the other. Shubha Krishna Prabhu, I forgot to mention. Venkat Madhav Prabhu. Prabhu who always arranges all the finances for our programs, and all our wonderful community members who, Pranay Arther, Diya Vacha, who have either given their full time or Diya, Pranay Arther, or their Hadi and Lakshmi, Diya, intelligence, or Vacha, words in spreading the glories of Shri Radha Gopinath, Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani, and Shri Gaur Nitai to every nook and corner of Sydney. Let's chant 3 Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath's congregation devotees ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Devotees in YouTube, Mayapur TV, Facebook ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Bhattacharya. Hare Krishna. It's already late today, so we won't be having our group japa on. It's already late, so we won't be having group japa online just for today. Thank you.